solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to build a bay. And all the things that will be happen like God blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up. Make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part. Play a role. Get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is a show, my people. Belize our hope, so to needless reason. Your body feel left out is the vibe we're dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that will be happen under God blue skies. And nothing that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put their time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB.
Good morning, Belize. Welcome to the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for today, Monday, 10th February 2025. Wherever you are, we hope that your morning is getting off to a beautiful start. Glad you're there with way, whether you're there by radio or by XTV or by social media streams or by our apps, of course, by those getting us via simulcast coverage. I'm Mose Hyde. I'm hosting today, and we hope that your morning has high energy, your health's great, your vibration's positive, and that you're going to spend some quality time with me. I don't want you to just drop in, drop out. We hope your schedule allows you to stick around a bit, and especially if you have enough space and flexibility in your morning routine that you could give me a holler, reason with you a little bit. That's what we love. But before we get into all of that, we've got to do what we call around here the preliminaries. We've got a bit of news for you. But before we do any news, we've got your weather forecast. And the general weather forecast is always from our National Meteorological Service. And we've got forecaster Tariq Matthews to tell us what kind of weather we can expect for this Monday.
Morning, Belize. A relatively moist easterly airflow prevails. The 24-hour forecast, mostly cloudy skies today and partly cloudy to cloudy skies tonight. A few showers will affect mainly the coast at first and gradually spreading around the country during the course of the day. Tonight, showers will be isolated. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 87 inland and 74 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 76 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 68 inland and 64 up in the hills. The winds will be from the east at 10 to 15 knots and the sea conditions will be choppy. A high tide will occur this morning at 9:31, a low tide this afternoon at 2:13, another high tide tonight at 8:45, and another low tide early tomorrow morning at 4:03. The sun will rise this morning at 6:21 and will set this evening at 5:52. The moon will rise this evening at 4:21 and will set early tomorrow morning at 5:48. The outlook: cloudy skies at times. A few showers are possible over the country Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon. Then, showers will decrease Tuesday evening and become isolated Tuesday night. For a review of our forecast and other products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
The first Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
The Hospital Workers Union on Saturday staged a brief walkout of the hospital during a break. Union President Andrew Baird reported that at the start of their term, the Bicentennial administration committed to resolving the matter of pensions for KHMH staff. That number is around 600. He said a committee was established and they had 3 meetings, but not since 2023. They have not met again. The union members who walked out called on the government to resolve the issue before the next general elections. They are requesting that, like public officers, they too be paid a pension. Baird explained that while the hospital itself has started a pension scheme for new entrants, pension benefit for staff before that time is pending, and the members will soon reach retirement age.
Inception of the board. Those who were hired then, prior to the Provident Fund start in 2017, their terms and conditions did not include any retirement benefit. And according to Carl Hushner Act, because of that, we are pensionable. So when the Provident Fund started 2017, what happened to our services from then? Right. As a matter of fact, I am still pensionable up to now, because when I started, my terms and conditions did not include the Provident Fund. It did not include any type of benefit.
Okay, so now you all feel that because you all are public health employees, so to speak, although you never worked for the Ministry of Health, that some provision should have been made?
Well, there's 2 things, you know. The government, through the Pension Act, with the political will of the Prime Minister, can go to the Governor General and say, listen, Governor General, I want to make these 300 people public officers and make them become pensionable under the Pension Act. That's what it takes, a political will. So we don't have to sit down and dialogue. All the Prime Minister have to do is stroke our pen, say, put me back in a pension scheme that government, the free pension that the public officers receive. We are public officers by the virtue of what we do. While our colleagues in the other hospital are receiving a nice pension, the employees...
You mean the other public hospital?
In the other public hospital, the employees of the National Referral Center are without a pension. The only National Referral Center are without a pension. So the government are to come to the table, or else we will have to take the necessary step. We are not going to back down until we get our pension. Tomorrow, we start with a press release that will be out tomorrow, and then within the week we will be taking other actions as we go along until the government comes up with a plan. These people that you are seeing here, their mandate is that even if they call us to a meeting, that we will not let down.
Okay. So that means, wait, if you get called to a meeting, what will be the response?
Depends on the fruitfulness of the meetings, because we had 3 meetings, but we still doesn't have a pension.
Since the walkout, documentation has been circulated showing that when the hospital was established, public officers were given the option to transfer to the statutory board and could decide to return to the public service after 2 years. One hospital staffer has said they were advised back then that the pay scale bracket would be different, but they would not have the benefit of pension from the public service. The Bicentennial administration is proposing to write off $54 million in unpaid hospital bills at the KHMH from April 2009 up to March 2022. The announcement was made by the Minister of Health, Honorable Kevin Bernard, at Friday's House meeting. He advised, though, that bills as of April 2022 must still be paid. We note that in 2015, then Prime Minister Dean Barrow announced during Independence Day ceremonies that they would write off $9 million in unpaid debt as at 2014 to the KHMH. Minister Bernard, in response, says the Barrow administration only said they would do the write-off, but while a letter is on file, the current KHMH administration does not have any record that there was any follow-through. Therefore, they note that there is a figure of over $20 million which remained on the books from the period 2009 to 2017. In this case, Bernard says they presented a cabinet paper for approval and have since instructed the KHMH to do the write-off. Bernard says thousands of people will benefit. For the years of 2023 and 2024, the annual receivables are $6.95 million and $6.7 million respectively. A hard-working, church-going resident of the Arizona area of Tea Kettle Village, Cayo, was killed at around 1 Sunday morning. Reports are that Santiago Rajo was shot outside of his home as he was going to aid his brother Thomas, who had been the victim of a robbery. Reports are that the two men, one of them armed with a firearm, entered Thomas' home and threatened his son and wife. When he tried to intervene, he was gun-butted to the face. The assailants then made off with his motorcycle. He informed his brother Santiago, who is reported to have chased after the culprits, and that is when he was shot to the chest. In the wake of his tragic and untimely death, Arizona's residents have reported that villagers have often been targeted by robbers from outside of the community and are asking to have their own police substation. Santiago Rajo leaves behind his wife and 5 children. In 2024, the government agreed to raise the pay scale for health inspectors. Minister of Health Kevin Bernard shared that this is the result of a sweeping review of pay scales and allowances in the public service. There are reports that the change has led to some discord among nurses who say that the salary of health inspectors is now greater than theirs. The minister shared that while nurses had gotten a salary increase in 2012, health inspectors had not seen a change in their salaries for 2 decades.
We did this for the public health inspectors. We had done it for the attendants. I think a year now, attendants were given their hazardous allowance and adjustments were made to them. The pharmacists had also gotten their adjustments. And so as we're working now, we did the public health inspectors where for 20 years, as I said, they had never gotten any change in their pay scale. They have been on pay scale 4 ever since. And some may say, oh, but then why is it then you jump from 4 to 14? Well, like I said, we're trying to bring the level to par to what we want it to be in the ministry. The next step is to look at the lab techs and the med techs. But let's just focus on the question at hand, the public health inspectors. So what has happened is that we have made the adjustments. Ministry of Public Service finally got the approval from Ministry of Public Service. It went through its process. This has been in discussion for over 1.5 years. And so these persons who do these adjustments are very happy for this adjustment. And what we are doing, however, we are raising the standard. So now for those who have been grandfathered into the system, into the pay scale, because some of them have been in, for example, for over 20 years working on that same pay scale, like I said, and now that they have been grandfathered, the requirement now for any new entrants, so any new person who would apply to become a public health inspector or a vector control officer within the Ministry of Health now has to come on a bachelor's degree or an associate's minimum. So the bar has been set. So you no longer can come in those positions on a high school diploma.
And address the comparison being made with the nurses.
Registered nurses who are either on pay scale 16 or 18, and it differs for KHMH nurses because they get a different pay scale, a higher pay scale when you're at KHMH. However, the nurses in the ministry, as if they are registered nurses, they are on pay scale 16 or 18 depending on their specialties. Now the practical nurses, they have they come in on pay scale 10, and they do a 1-year certificate course, and they come in as a practical nurse. Now we also have to remember that we have been looking at the compendium of allowances, because the RNs get allowances and all of these things that also add on to their pay scale. So we have to bear in mind, as I said, that nurses got an adjustment, I think, in 2012. So we've been doing a complete review of the cadre of staff. We've been working very closely with the public service job classification unit to ensure that we get to this where we are. I mean, and you look at when you speak to these many employees who are benefiting from this adjustment, it's a great thing for them. It's a benefit for not just the employee who now takes on a better home salary, but it's also lifting the bar and raising the standards for any new entrants that come into the system under those job types.
The government is conducting a comprehensive review of pay scales within the public service. Here is Minister of the Public Service, Honorable Henry Usher.
Have taken is to look at the entire public service comprehensively, the way compensation is done, the way allowances are done. All of that is being done through a project in partnership with the IDB, and it's something that will really look at every single pay scale, try to minimize the number of pay scales. Currently, we have 27 or so pay scales and 30 points on those pay scales. That's way too much to manage. And so it's really necessary to try to make it more efficient. And part of it is to make sure that the classification of the jobs are in line with what is being paid in the private sector. We have to make sure that we keep the best of the best in the public service. How do we do that? By compensating them properly. This particular one was something that the Ministry of Health felt was necessary to keep their workers there, and they made a presentation to Cabinet. They made a presentation to the Ministry of Finance, and so the Ministry of Public Service carried out the recommendation and the approval from the Cabinet.
And that brings us to the end of this early morning news brief. Right here on Creme Radio and XTV. Throughout the day, of course, you do get updates, and it finishes off in the evening with our main newscasts. But right now, we will take a break. When we come back, we will be open for the business of conversation. This is what the WUB does, so stick around. We'll be right back.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
When you bank your way, it's amazing how much
All right, welcome back. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. This Monday morning, the 10th of February, 2025. I'm Mose Hyde. I'm hosting today. Yup, I'm just hosting. I'm not preaching. I have a reason. Talk on things, but never can you forget a sermon. The way how you fix that is by calling. So we've got a telephone number where you can jump in. It's 280-5848. We're glad you're there, by the way. Respect. People on YouTube, subscribe. Strengthen us, strengthen you. That's how we do this exchange. Not take nothing from you except maybe a couple of seconds. And being a subscriber has its privileges, right? We do that, enable your whole algorithms for prioritize, once it is we are on. So you get what's going on and be notified. I think there's a thing with notifications. I got you all of that. That wouldn't hurt, but be a subscriber and it strengthens, enhances the whole experience. Don't wait until tomorrow to do it. We want you to do it now. No. Good. Again, I repeat, the telephone number is 280-5848. That's the direct line for you to participate in the conversation. Monday mornings, always everybody's favorite morning of the week, I am sure. Gather up yourself, though. Build up your energy, build up your constitution and get ready and get the day done. I think you have to go refix your perspective for Mondays where you say, you know what, the start of a thing is the most important part. So you should be extra motivated to get up on a Monday morning for lift up your week and get it started well upon, with that great energy. At least that is what I tell myself. So I kind of just share a little bit of the vibes, right? Now, while you decide or while you try to do your little routine before your call, because we know you will, encouraging and, we depend on it, we will jump into some things, of course, because it's better to have me talking than to have dead air. That would be uncomfortable. So let's jump into some things. So, of course, last week, at least while I was here, what dominated the conversation was the tragic death of a child in most just unbelievably sad circumstances. And that happened prior, and we spent last week talking about that. And one of the things we said last week was that to the authorities in kind of letting them understand that we have them on the clock. We want a proper, thorough inquiry into this, and let us hold accountable, and let us be so thorough that something like this never reoccurs. And also, as a part of my initial comments was, we don't know all the details, but ultimately, this is, having this process is going to give us a better understanding. We just can't sit down and have this be a news item. We are sad. It's great that the community identified with the child and his family and gave support. It's great that I believe that there has been a conversation about autism and autistic children. It's great that there was even a day when people decided that as a show of solidarity, they wore blue. My Facebook page was filled with people in their blue and, standing in solidarity. It's always good when you see the community respond. That should be something that, that is consistent, but we understand. So this was kind of like, thanks to the efforts, I believe, based on the report that I saw, that the uncle of the child did a lot of the legwork to compile video footage to really put out maybe unprecedentedly a complete timeline of this horror. And that had an obvious, huge impact on the community. Personally, I've avoided the video, but people, obviously, who have seen it, it's a deep impact. And so I think late in the week, we saw that coming together, the community. Yes, we had people may burn fire. Yes, people may blame and people may do all of this and say this one you never do this and this never do that. It was a lot of that. And I'm going down there particularly in what I saw after, and I could not have seen it before because I saw the transcript of a news story done by Channel 5 where they spoke with a parent of a child going to that school, and also they played a recording that that parent did of the principal of the school. And so that was a bombshell story because essentially this parent comes out to say, well, my child experienced this 2 weeks ago and it may be, and obviously I didn't see the interview, I read it. What the transcript said was that this parent expressed a bit of significant regret that they didn't come out, because if they had, maybe this situation would not have happened. But for some reason, I find it's always something that sends off an alarm bell when somebody does what I believe to be a kind of unauthorized recording of a conversation. But it seems that is what was done with this parent having a conversation with the principal. And so one, the fact that this has happened before says that there is a consciousness of this problem. And then in the taped conversation with the principal, again, there were several things which really jumped out. One, there was a admission by the principal that they are essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, these were not, that they are really under pressure. If I am to just describe it, to say we're under pressure, and that they have reached out to indicate that they're under pressure. And there were some things in there which really troubled me. It really troubled me that the principal essentially says, well, you know, the child, your child, like so many of these children, they get problem. This is troubling that in the leadership position that is the view of what's going on with the children at Stella Morris, because we're not talking here about a behavioral problem. This is it's a medical health situation that has to be managed, and this institution exists for that sole purpose, understanding that this is a very special student. This makes this institution a very special place. So it's very troubling, those words. But what really comes out to me, and I think why I'm raising this issue, is because the problem with fear. What I mean by that, what I mean by the problem of fear, when we exist in a space where fear is prevalent, people are uncomfortable engaging with authority. Probably the person who seems to be the most immune to that would be the extreme end of that spectrum, would be somebody like Sister Yaya. She seems to delight in taking on authority. But generally, we exist in a space where there is a fear. And this really brings out the consequence of that kind of environment, that kind of environmental condition when people are afraid. So that parent, based on the transcript that I read, was very fearful about how to navigate what should have been, this was a straight red flag. And she basically says that I was, I had my concerns about how to do this. That parent was obviously, I believe, and this is not what that parent said, but this is my conclusion based on the fact that she felt the need to record a conversation. That's a signal of fear that believability is a concern. That's fear. That's fear. That parent experienced something that was extremely unacceptable. Her child got off the compound, and she went to find out what the situation was, and she had fear. I have a call. Krem, good morning, WUB. Good morning.
Mose, Sandra Corey. I'm going to interrupt your conversation quick for a brief moment. I don't know if this matter has been discussed in the Belizean public at all, because I was unaware of it, even though I follow her views internationally. I learned yesterday from a doctor friend of mine in the United States that there was an outbreak, that there is an outbreak of tuberculosis. So I proceeded to research it and found that it was reported extensively in the American, I'm going to use the term they are using, legacy press, that is the traditional established media. And I feel worried most because I had called this radio before, and I think I called Love at the time on the matter, because I knew of cases in Belize, and at least in one instance, the person had died. But nothing, there was no discussion, national call out, nothing at all. Now, in the case of the camp in the United States, the outbreak is occurring in Kansas, in a single county in Kansas, in Kansas City, I think. That's the center of this situation. And they began noticing it in 24. And apparently there was a newspaper article in 24 about the matter. Between then and now, they have, 2 people have died, 67 people are actively infected, and 79 are latent. Now, what do those 3 figures refer to? To start with, you can get infected, but it may not take an active form. You don't get a bloody cough, you don't get fever, you're not fatigued, you don't lose weight, you don't have any of the symptoms that normally occur when it's activated in your body. The people who are active display the range of symptoms, which, as I said, may include a bloody cough, fatigue, loss of weight, etc. Now, tuberculosis is considered one of the deadliest infectious diseases in the world. And we had it in Belize, and it has accompanied mankind on a long journey. We were, in my childhood, Dr. Bernice House undertook a mass nationwide program. She was asked to take the program and she refused. She didn't have any interest in public health. Her interest was in gynecology and obstetrics. But after the request kept coming and the pressure was mounting, Dr. B agreed to take up the matter. And in that taking up, she made a number of decisions that the first people she had to save were the children, and that they were the primary interest for salvation. And of course, thereafter would be adult sick people, and she also focused on her staff, making sure their health was up to par in order to be able to deal with the constant exposure to this matter. Now, in the case of cancers, they have been working on tracking the source of the infection. I have heard 3 doctors, well, when having researched the matter, I came across interviews with 3 doctors. All are saying that yes, it is highly, it's very deadly, but that infection is not, you don't really have to worry about a mass infection. That is what they're saying. However, it is increasing, and they believe the numbers are more than the numbers that have been given out up to January the 31st. I don't know what are the most recent figures since then, but up until the end of the month, the beginning of this month, February, those are the figures. They don't know the cause, they don't know the source of the infection. However, in one of the interviews, it is noted that the United States has been seeing a rise in tuberculosis cases, especially since the pandemic. Since the pandemic, the numbers have gone up. 9,000 a year and 13,000 at present latent. Now, when you are latent, it can be activated because the bacteria is residing in your system. They argue that you have to be exposed for a length of time to an infected person, and that it lingers in the air for a number of hours. Well, they may be correct for America, but I know from my childhood and in my present adulthood that it doesn't function quite that way, Mose. I know someone who became infected many years ago by working in an environment that was acid and where somebody preceding him working in there had contracted TB. This person was a very healthy person with a rigorous health problem, health program, and he fell ill with it. And in the beginning, they couldn't diagnose it. In the case of recent, an adult died from it, and the public health was sent in to test persons living in the environment, not living with him in the particular dwelling, but living in the enclosed environment of the yard space that they occupy. And I think because we are not conscious of TB anymore, we don't recognize the utter danger that it can pose most. In my childhood, many people became infected because they were intentionally infected by sick people. Many sick people, knowing their illness, would take opportunity to place saliva and bloody saliva into people's wax. That was one example. You see? So the strict health habits of my childhood arose in great part because of the Mose's struggle to bring the contagion to an end. Why is my concern so deep? Because the doctor who alerted me about it yesterday said that, and this I had already conceived that this would happen, bring down the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, the National Institutes of Health, the different methodologies, different platforms in the United States that keep United States public aware of illness, and you can't find any information on their sites. Their sites are gone blank. So you can't go there and update. And in the case of this now, seems to me it is the Kansas public health system that is doing the updating, recognizing that while they're working to contain it and everything, they have a responsibility to alert the nation as much as possible. This is a situation, be on your guard. TB has a vaccination. We got it as children, but I don't know if they're giving it. They don't give it in the United States. And my opinion, Mose, is that this outbreak in the United States, well, we are not seeing it anywhere else yet. But don't forget that in the aftermath of the First World War, the influenza epidemic, pandemic, in the aftermath of that war would come tuberculosis, then came the Great Depression, all of that came together. And so humans of that generation were not eating properly, their immune systems were on, the immune system evidently was under immense stress from the war, the influenza, the depression, just the worry. You see, people cause people to lose the capacity to resist. Then you add to that, let's say take Belize, where oranges used to cost 8 cents for $1. Oranges are now at 4 for $1. And sometimes they're at 3 and 2 for $1. So where are people going to get their vitamin C from, pray tell me? I really think that the Ministry of Education, they have a group, I think it's Dr. Manzanero, is responsible for global health. Isn't that true?
I don't know that I can check into that, but I don't know that for a fact.
Well, I thought he was the one in charge for global health. I don't know if he's still there or not. But don't you consider we need a national discussion on this matter? For example,
well, I think
when I was a child, raw milk, that was one of the reasons for the pasteurization of milk, because cows can contract tuberculosis. Goats don't contract tuberculosis, I don't know if at all, but definitely not easily. So goat's milk was a more sterile milk to drink if you were going to drink it raw. But right now in the United States, there is a health movement on raw milk. But raw milk, yes, it has to, you kill certain components are destroyed in pasteurization. But it's better to pasteurize it more than run the risk of infection, given that cows are now being subject and birds have bird flu going around, all kinds of things. You see? A friend of mine told me that in her clinic in the States, she has laid down a strict rule. You come in with a mask, you don't sit in this clinic without a mask. Because of the increased flu cases, which struck me, knowing a number of persons in the United States who have the flu and it can't seem to get better, struck me, oh my goodness, this is a rather strong case of the flu. And then there are still corona cases. Now you add to that a tuberculosis case, and then you add to that the dismantling of a health system, because I don't think I'm wrong to assess it that way. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, especially the integrated global health apparatus is under
that is well put.
Under assault.
Pardon?
Yeah. So essentially, as you've always done, is that there are things which we don't control, but the things that we can control in house have to reflect the reality that we
have to.
And so, you know,
we spit everywhere. Let us start with that. Stop spitting spreading all over the
So
place.
it might not be
all over the place.
so it might not be tuberculosis, but tuberculosis is on the radar. I did read on the matter in Kansas. There's also
you read about it?
Yes, I did. I didn't have a conversation about it, but I read about it last week. I know that bird flu has been very problematic over the past 6 months in the United States of America as well.
Yes. Yes.
And before COVID, for a long time, bird flu has been looked at as, if that is able to go from human to human, that will be, that they always thought that the next pandemic would come from a mutated strain of the bird flu. So the bird flu has always been, under serious monitoring, but the system of monitoring such things is being dismantled. And
exactly, Mose.
And
that
so
is exactly the source of my deep worry.
And so we can't dictate Washington policies, but what we can control is how we conduct ourselves in light of that new reality.
And that's a new reality of immense significance. Bearing in mind the massive movement of people into and out of the United States, including into our society. So it is something that I do not think, I really think should be treated. Let's take vitamin D and the problem of melanin and vitamin D. The body can manufacture vitamin D when it's exposed to the rays of the sun. About 40 minutes a day exposure will give it to you. However, when you are melanated, as the majority of us in Belize are, the more the melanin, the less the rays of the sun penetrate. And that's a protection. That's an evolutionary protection against the sun's rays. But it has, now when you live in the tropics and you can walk around and expose your skin, your face is exposed, your hands are exposed, you are able to take in more than a person of similar complexion in a northern climate, where the sun doesn't shine, it doesn't shine for the length of time it shines for us, and it doesn't shine as strongly, especially at a lower altitude. So there are things that we need to do. I honestly think that we should be looking at instituting a price limit on the basic vitamin C fruits, so that you can ensure your people are getting that at no cost to you. They're getting this vitamin C. Now vitamin D, exposure to the sun, everybody try and get some sunlight. Make sure you're getting a little bit at least every day. Even when you walk with an umbrella, if the umbrella is a light colored one, the sun rays are coming to us. Get it, because we cannot afford. There won't be any vaccine. There won't be any global monitoring, because a great part of that global monitoring was done by the United States of America. Don't you agree, Mose?
Well, even if it wasn't done by them, their money, their financing helped a lot of the monitoring around the world. So
exactly, and so the defense.
Didn't Argentina? Hasn't Argentina? Is it Argentina that has followed the U.S. now by withdrawing from the WHO?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's the frightening part, Mose. That because there are people who don't like the word third world, the phrase. I don't mean it I mean it as a categorization for us to understand that there are limitations we have, that we need to recognize those limitations and overcome them. we tend to copycat, and especially if it is done by the northern vice world, we run to copy it. These people are not everything they do should be copied, and more so now, because they are doing a lot of wrong things that are going to put us all on a path to our destruction. All humans, if only they would be destroyed, then you could say leave them alone. But all of us will go along with it. We will all go along. When they melt Greenland, you think it's only the white people who will die from the water? No, we will die. And we are even more vulnerable because we have lived extractive economies. Our economies have been economies that have been based on taking away from us and not returning to us the real value of what has been taken away. And then as though that were not bad enough, our leadership throughout Latin America, the Caribbean, Africa, some of the Asian countries has been just plain terrible. So on top of the greedy extraction being carried out by the traditional colonizers, we have our own internal colonizers extracting from us. You see? And that they only add to the mess. So we go copy, that's the last thing we should be copying. Last thing we should be copying. Because health, TB, Mose, I didn't die from it. In my childhood, we were tested regularly. On one test, they got me muddled up with another girl. I don't need to tell you the chaos that caused in my home because I wouldn't stop crying. I had to go and investigate when you found out that they had the wrong name. So it wasn't, you didn't want to take chances because they were going to separate you from your family in order to kill you. No, they don't practice that mode. But honestly, if this thing escalates, that is where I think it should go to. I think the people in tourism or our government ought to be looking at obtaining the vaccine to administer it to nobody else, the people in tourism who come into constant contact, or the people at the airport who work there in constant contact with foreigners, in particular foreigners. You won't know where they're from. And we don't yet know. It's not spread yet. And they are fighting to not let it spread. But notice the word they use. They don't say you're not going to catch it by a brief contact. They say it's not very likely that you can be infected. What do you understand very likely to mean, Mose?
I think that is kind of, yeah, I mean, straightforward. I mean, it means that there's not like you have a 100% or a 95% chance of getting it.
Exactly. But they use that to comfort and pacify.
But you might have one 60% chance to get it.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I just called to deal with that.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. We go to 2 Cents Camp, sponsored by 4th Point Security. Then we take our first break of the day. This is WB, Wake Up Billy's Morning Vibes, Monday morning. Bright, beautiful Monday morning, 10th February 2025. We will be right back.
Hey, what's up? You're watching WB and this is XTV. All right? So, we have to say big respect to our sponsors, 4th Point Security and Euphrates Auto Rental. What you don't know is they say it take a village to raise a child. All right? The other day, we lose one of our loved one, a child, over there, the hangar. Now listen to me. We can find out the people in 2 Cents and say how they feel about it. What do you think about the picnic where get drunk? I mean, they walk a good distance and nobody will pay attention to where you 2 Cents.
Personally, bro, when I watch the video, it really broke my heart. Because people, you could see the young man in the chest in the run in the middle of the street and everything there. I feel like we as Belizean as society, we need to do a little better, man. We really need to do better. Because you could see this young man in the chest, bro. So, personally, I feel like in Belize, we don't see people do a little better, bro.
Yeah.
We need to do, especially because a lot of kids about you with all kind of like illness, bro. And personally, together, only so you get better, bro.
So if we see them on the street, especially in a uniform, we're supposed to be more concerned.
That will make it I get furious more, bro. Cause look, it's in a uniform too. So, and then like when I watch a video, bro, this man run in the middle of the street. Something have to wrong, bro. Come on, something have to wrong. But I see in the video, I see like why young man the try to stop the young boy, but he never did. But man, we have to do better, bro. Because that's my 2 cents. Cause I have a son with anxiety too, bro. Not anxiety, artistic. So I know how it goes. You understand?
So sad for the child, because anybody can pick up a child, but anybody can pick up and save that child life. Anybody. It bad me bad, because anybody can. So people see that baby and they steal it, act like they don't see the child. They come hold that child. Call the police after that. Don't get on the TV and say, well, I call 911 and make it look like you. The same person can pick up that child and call the police afterwards.
Yeah. What you think about the little boy who went jungling? Like, do you think for we society have interest for we kids anymore?
I don't really necessarily think so. I believe even as the educators now, they do play a part in it, especially considering, and they teach during lunch break, and the teacher deliberately, when they gone out, the teacher deliberately stated that they're not their responsibility. And I believe that wrong as an educator, considering the school where the young man come from. You should at least have some awareness that young man background. And especially if you just think that right across the street, what are the human nature if you just walk right across the street and just deliver it back to the school where you come from. I just think it's absurd.
Now you heard what we say.
First thing you got to do with the school warden.
That's where they start from.
I'll put you in some more harder work.
That's your 2 cents.
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome back to the WB Wake Up Believes Morning Vibes. Mose, Hyde hosting on this Monday morning, 10th February 2025. The phone there, Yahweh is there. Telephone number 280-5848. That is how you enable your participation and make this into the conversation that is designed to be. Today till 9. And early out, I was kind of going back to last week's big conversation topic, unfortunately, so since it's a very tragic thing. And one of the things I said last week is it's very likely that by this week, and sure enough, there are other things to talk about, but I have a call. Go to my phone. Krem, good morning.
Mose, I'm just calling back because I forgot a point that I had planned to mention, a critical point. It's the medication, the treatment regime.
Yeah.
If you have active signs, you are going to put on a regime that may last, well, first, one doctor said 3 to 6 months, another one said 3 to 9 months. So let us deal with the 3 to 9 months. That's split into 2 sections. In the first section, which appears to be about 2/3 of the time, you will be placed on approximately 4 treatments, 4 antibiotics or 4 medications for treatment. Then in the next third, you are placed on another set of medication. I think it's 2. Because this strain of the tuberculosis that has appeared in cancer is responsive to the multiple medication treatment plans. Some are not. You see? In my childhood, they treated you with medication, but they isolated you. So the isolation hospital was up there, somewhere on the Western Highway, the sanatorium it was called. And in Dr. House's approach was diet and medication and environment. Bearing in mind that many people in that time lived in very small, congested spaces, easy to contaminate.
Not that your overall presentations, Ms. Correa, are not immensely valuable, but every now and then something you're put out there where I feel like we really have to just grab and hold on to, like where I think the morning when you said we need to have an entire campaign to plant along the coast of Belize, to plant mangroves. We have to have replanting, and especially dealing with what's going to happen with climate change. I felt that was the kind of game plan that is, that's how we need to be. That's how we need to be thinking.
Yes.
So what you said just now when you brought up the issue of where we need to be proactive and make sure that what they call the frontline people, especially the frontline people in the service industry and those who are, at the airports and so on, in 2025, coming out of the pandemic and now dealing with what this new reality is where these huge countries are withdrawing from the WHO, what you have described is for there to be a very intentional and sustained management of the well-being of our frontline people.
Yes, definitely.
And that is, to me, that is, again, with tuberculosis concerns, but just because right now people are bringing down walls that have played a part in our health defense, even if we were not conscious of it, even if we are not conscious of the work that the people do in WHO in identifying new outbreaks around the planet and how that protects us. Even without our own knowledge of it, we are being protected. But now those walls are being compromised.
Yes.
In light of that, we have to be intelligent since we can't.
And most, I think they are being compromised intentionally as a population control mechanism. Now I know that sounds very brutal and very frightening to see. But when I listen to the arguments coming, let us say, out of the current administration in the United States, those people are all trained people, man. They are trained. So they know people will die. They know it. They know people will die when they brought the USAID Foreign Assistance Program to an end. They know it. So I must then conclude that if you know it, you want it to happen. Then I must ask myself, why do you want it to happen? Is it that you are so utterly sadistic, or is this a solution that in your warped mind you think will produce the results that you want? You see? And I think that that is it. You notice I'm not saying I feel, I'm not saying I believe, I am not saying I know, but I'm saying I think. So you feel and you believe on the first level, you think and you know on the second level. And I think that that is, why would it most, I have paid no attention to what the idea over the years. I know it exists, I know what it is, I have already analyzed it, I don't need to spend anything. But I have paid keen attention of late. I don't know if you have done the same. I've paid keen attention. And while I would agree that there may be immense wastage, I am also deeply aware that it is serving to keep people alive in certain areas of the world. But when you withdraw that help, that's going to come to a grinding halt. Because that leadership there is just like ours. They don't act with vision. And they are not particularly concerned about their people. So they are going to die. And if the people at the bottom who are the implementers know they are going to die, then you're going to tell me the people who oversee the spending and don't know they are going to die? They know it. So they must want it to happen. No, I don't think they are wanting it to happen because they are utterly evil and diabolical. Yes, the action is diabolical. But they are faced with a number of problems, one of which is a climate shift. And that climate shift has been caused in great part because of uncontributing. When we were an agrarian civilization moves, agrarian civilization rested on a vast army of human and in some cases animal labor. Now some societies never had animal labor. So you can't, except for South America, the Yamas, that the Peruvian native peoples, the Americas did not have substitute labor. But the Afro-Eurasian continental mass had long experimented in animal labor as a supplement, or in some cases a substitute to human labor. You see? So, whichever one you increase, whether you increase the lower animals or the highest animals, humans, you are going to have a burden on the Earth's resources. Now, we shifted from that to the Industrial Revolution, the Industrial Civilization, which should have been accompanied by a population reduction. Because you are substituting machines now that can combine the animal and the lower animal and high animal labor. You didn't do that. You know, I was discussing one morning with Yaya the issue of women. Let's look at Latin America. What the U.S. is dealing with is Latin America's surplus population, right? Well, I don't know if the Belizeans know that on the weekend, the current president of the United States issued a presidential executive order offering refuge to white South Africans because according to him, white South Africans are facing persecution
Yes, I am.
Pardon?
Yes, I am. I read that.
Okay. So he has issued an executive order to offer refugee status to those people. But all the Latin Americans, their refugee process is being stripped away from them. Now, I am not going to get into arguing what the United States should do, because that's the United States. I know what should be done in the East. But looking at it objectively, how can you then tell me the problem is migration? Because you're sending out one crowd, then to bring in another crowd, but strangely enough, the crowd that you're bringing in, the criteria that separates them from the other crowd you're sending out is the color of their skin. So I have then to assume that, and you can't fault me for so assuming, that the reason you're expelling the other people is because of the color of their skin. Now, Latin Americans don't think they're black. You see, so you've got another mess there.
Well, whatever they think they are, whatever color they think when they see in the mirror, maybe they see purple, maybe they see orange. Whatever color it is, apparently it's not apparent, it's definitely not the preferential color in Washington right now.
So, this executive order tells you that whatever you think you are definitely not what they want. What they want, they have spelled out in the executive order. So, we are faced with having that society is evidently in a mess. And their confusion won't get less, it will increase. So we have to be able to assess our situation and make right and proper. They are expelling the very surplus population they call. They didn't want Latin America to streamline and become industrialized. No. All they wanted Latin America to do was to have their bad strongmen, presidents, who would hold the population in check, keep the population ignorant, make the population have baby after baby after baby. That's what they wanted, because that gave them a cheaper labor market for the products that were coming out of Latin America. So the wrong decisions they are now the cause of the problem, and you're trying to shift the problem back. Well, when you shift it back, we are going to have to resolve that. If we don't, we will then pay the price. But the root of the problem was the population demographic expansion under an industrialized civilization cannot occur at the rate of the agrarian civilization. You're going to end up with this. You're going to end up with people that just who have no work. Now, that's not that enough. You have shifted to another phase of that industrialized civilization, this digital automated phase. What do you think is going to happen? They've got millions diagnosed. Let's look at enclosures. When Great Britain decided, and Europe, to mechanize farming, they would expand to take in what was called the commons. The commons was like, what they call it here, what those boys were fighting for in Denver. It's the border area along the roadside that belongs to the government.
The buffer zone.
They wanted to, what they call it?
The buffer zone.
The buffer zone. That is really the commons, was the traditional commons in Europe. So the peasant had a chance to grow his little wheat and something for himself on which the lord of the manor could not draw attack. He got seeds from the Lord, you know, and planted that. He had to turn over a portion of his harvest to the Lord. Even if he was left without, he had to turn over a certain quantity to the Lord of the castle, the manor, whatever. But that portion grown in the buffer zone, or the commons as they call it, they could keep that. Well, when we shifted, when Europe was people would become the first slaves brought en masse to the Americas. You see? So that they died. People died in their houses. They're not to mention the Reformation and the death that came. So they already know. And if this was 1492, you could say they don't know. But they already know. They know now. And they are people who keep records of everything. Records of every war, every battle. How many men fought in the battle. How much provisions they had. So if they're that careful, they're going to be careful about this. So they already know what this, their wrong decision. Then you add now to that the Roman Catholic Church that insisted in Latin America on ribbon. And again, the brothers, I think you are speaking to the people in the listening audience, but she was there hosting, that ribbon requires literacy. That was totally absent in Latin America. Not because Latin Americans are not a bright people, but they were literate. Look at what happened in the Dominican Republic this weekend here with the Mr. Rubio, the Secretary of State. Have you listened to the press conference?
No.
Well, I heard press conferences for Guatemala, Costa Rica, and the Dominican Republic. I still have to go and look for the others. But in the Dominican Republic, what was fascinating, Mose, is they are proposing to make the Dominican Republic a nearshore semiconductor production area. That's the chip production, etc., for computers. But when they talked about a similar plan for Haiti in the Dominican Republic, but they didn't go to Haiti, they are talking about textile and sewing, that kind of thing. They didn't talk about that in Guatemala. They didn't talk about semiconductors in Guatemala. They didn't discuss joint energy between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic as they did. They didn't discuss energy and that in the rest of Latin America. They discussed cyber crimes in Costa Rica and Guatemala were building a port. And well, Mr. Rubio talked about a port, but the Guatemalan president talked about generalized infrastructure. So when they come to you, Mose, they come knowing your needs and knowing your vulnerabilities and knowing where they can press the button. They already do that. In the case of the Dominican Republic, apparently the Dominican Republic took up the Haitian matter for their own survival. Because if the Haitian matter is not solved, then the Dominican Republic, you know what Mr. Rubio said to the Dominican Republic president and to the people? He said that we can't expect you all to cope and deal with a mass migration. We cannot expect that of any population. Doesn't that sound strange, Mose? In view of what they are proposing for Gaza? Huh?
I don't know if strange, that my word, strange come to my mind. It sound like sick, sick.
Yes. They said they're not going to let it happen for the Dominican Republic, but they are prepared to let it happen for Egypt and Jordan and all. Move 2 million people out of Gaza and eventually the other 2 or 4 million out of the West Bank. They move them, but the Dominican Republic can't demand that. So apparently, because of the Dominican Republic clamoring and the Haitian clamoring and probably France and Canada, they have agreed to institute a waiver on humanitarian assistance to Haiti. That will continue. They have agreed to increase the contingent, the Kenyan contingent will be increased from 800 to, apparently to the 1,500 they had originally planned, but they are arguing that the UN has money and that they contributed 15 million or 15, I don't think it's 15 million of that UN thing. So Haiti was a part of the discussion move. but it didn't take place in Haiti, it took place in the Dominican Republic. But, so, that may sound the Dominican Republic, but you leave Guatemala, Salvador, you're only going to put your criminals into Salvador, and yes, that's what Salvador needs. That's not what it needs. It needs education, and that's costly. It needs training, and that's costly. So do what Singapore is doing in Malaysia. Do that. Singapore is investing more 500 odd billion in an economic zone in Malaysia to deal with the vast numbers of Malaysians who want to come to work in Singapore, but there is nowhere safe for them to work. So Singapore has been able to amass that level of reserve that it can invest 500 plus billion in this economic adventure in Malaysia, which we could have done because we have far more resources than Singapore ever has had. But we haven't done it. Anyway, coming back to this matter of health, bear in mind that there is a treatment regime, evidently a costly regime, so I think that our government ought to move to arm itself with having on hand that medication and to have a plan move. I'll give you an example. The person
I'll have to go to.
The person who died, his feces was left in a bucket mold, exposed for 1 month. And when public health was approached to deal with the matter and to deal with the matter of fumigating the residents, they said they no longer do that. That is not how it was dealt with in my childhood. If you were living in a home and you were infected, that home was entered into, you were removed to the sanitarium and public health entered your home and fumigated and sterilized your home of that pathogen. So I'm calling for the same to be done now. Bye-bye.
All right, we go to break. We'll be back. All right, welcome back to the WB Wake Up Believes Morning Vibes. Mose Hyde hosting on this Monday morning, the 10th of February 2025. Always a lot to talk about. Of course, once you call, we go there. The telephone number is 280-5848. Once you call, you take the lead. We love when you call. That's the way it works. This is Wake Up Believes Morning Vibes. I'm Mose Hyde hosting until 9. And just been unable to finish up my thought that I started early this morning. First and foremost to say, but we have a next call. Krem, good morning, WB.
Good morning, Mose. How are you doing today, sir?
I give thanks for life, brother. How is it going with you?
Yes, sir. I give thanks for life. It's 6 o'clock over here, 40 degrees.
Which, how much?
Yeah, 40 degrees in Vegas right now.
40 degrees, all right. Nice and warm, eh?
It ain't that cold. It's all right. Yeah, I'm hearing conversations, right? You know, there's one thing I experienced over there in Belize, because, you know, I back in America, but I grew up 7 years in Belize for my teenage years, you know, and I played ball with what, yeah, right? And maybe 3 days out of the week, we would run on the beach from Carbona Stadium to 4 miles plank on the beach, past Pelican Beach. You know, with no problem, and the beach is real wide, you know, and when you go around by Pelican Beach, you can't even walk on the beach no more. All that erosion that's going on in Belize is real bad down south. Real bad. By Jetty area, by Williams, it's real bad. The erosion is real bad down there, Hyde. You know about that?
The what?
The erosion, the land erosion.
In
that Greener.
Okay, I'm not, I mean, I know about the erosion going on along the coastline at various locations. I've not personally.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it's only going to get worse and everything, but my auntie went to cabanas everywhere, it's just messed up. But you gotta go back to the beach with rocks, with inner tubes, with tires, and build back that beach if you got a beachfront property. This is how we do at the Buckle Clean. If you build back the beach with coke shells, you got about 1,000 coke shells you put in for your property. And as the waves fill up, it goes back to bed back on the beach again. It's a continuous pattern every 4 to 5 years, but that's one way you can keep your beach. And one more thing I want to speak about in Belize, the government, it seems like they don't care about sports facilities down there. You guys let things go to waste, like that Jetsamar Stadium, MCC grounds, Mary George Stadium. Those places, it looks bad for international scenes. I walk by MCC grounds. I'm like, man, look at this place, man. This place used to be rocking and rolling back in the days. You had the rock-a-bucket section back in the days. You know, I sat there for about half an hour in that stadium. I was at 10 cents, just recognize myself, me and kids for done with them, and then they greet the guy, and that stadium must go to waste, man. They need to fix the stadium, and they need to bring back the stadium and spend some money. It's not going to take a lot, but they need to bring back that stadium because President Jones is being worn out because they work out there every day. They ain't got no practice field. So the field looks bad because it's game time. It's nothing but a fan. I haven't seen a game with an ugly field. That is very
You hate seeing a what?
I hate seeing a soccer game with an ugly field.
Oh.
It's unattractive to watch a game like that. It makes the game look like a third world game I'm watching. But anyway, that's all I gotta say, man. This government, fix up those fields, man. Fix up those police fields. They need to be fixed, man. Come on, sports. What's wrong? You don't want the kids to get rich over sports? Come on, guys. Peace.
All right, thank you very much. One of the things I just wanted to Okay, hold on. Sorry, I think I might have had a call coming in. You can call us back. The number is 280-5848. So I was just talking a bit about what was the big topic last week. Baby, this little boy, Gabriel, that, you know, as a community we mourned. We were blue, I think, on Thursday in solidarity, and everybody has commented on it, everybody felt it, and all that. We still have not gotten, but we have been told that there is a thorough investigation going on to find out the circumstances. But what we were not aware of, at least when I was talking about this issue last week, was that apparently this is not the first time. Not apparently, it's based on what has been reported to us. We had a parent come forward speaking about her child, and we also had, I believe to be a hidden recording. The parent did a recording of the principal, and the principal was expressing to the parent, confiding certain things and the problems that exist at the school. And what I was speaking about, and just want to finish up this thought, is that there are many things to unpack from that. Obviously, it makes a difference to know that this is a problem they've had. That is alarming. But to deal with the fact that the parent was uncomfortable, and I describe that as a consequence of the atmosphere we live in, where we live in fear. People are very fearful. People are very fearful of authority. I think that's one of the reasons why there was a recording done in the first place. So people are, whether or not people are, you know, they have something to fear or not, the fact is that this, you know, there is this atmosphere, and I think a bit of it comes from things they have learned, things they've experienced, things they've observed, and how authority deals with things at all levels. And so people know there are consequences for speaking out. So that parent, very honest and very brave in the aftermath of what has happened, went and gave an interview to the media network. An important, valuable interview. Respect, and we should be thankful that she did, and also provided this audio recording, which I imagine will not make her very, you know, she's not going to be very popular, especially at the institution, for doing this. But it also has to be said that she's not the only person that I believe had some fear. With all respect to the principal, the challenges that she described, for all institutions, for all public controlled educational institutions, especially at the primary level, it is of great importance that the administrators are extremely bold, but they are dealing with the reality of the climate. Everybody has fear. But Stella Maris is an institution, because of what it does, its priority is a little bit higher than the other institutions. And what that administrator, that principal confided to that parent is to say, we are overwhelmed. We'll wrap it up in a nutshell. The principal is saying to the parent, we are overwhelmed. And essentially conceding that they are short on the resources that are required to ensure that they are not in this position of being overwhelmed. And apparently, and one would have to have assumed, this is not a recent state of affairs. And yes, the principal is saying that they are trying to get certain things out of the ministry. Getting extra wardens take a while. But even though that has now been provided, their overall state is one of on an unacceptable level of not, they're on top of things. And they're on top of things because the resources are not there. Now, the thing is, when you're in a leadership position, your responsibility is to those people who bring their children there and have every right to expect that when they're there, they are safe. And so when you're in that situation, you have a responsibility for be very bold when dealing with the people who have the ultimate responsibility to ensure that this institution gets its deserved priority treatment. And if that is not being done, then you have to take it the next step. You have to then come to the public. The problem with that is that once you do that, it will upset people in authority. They will be upset with you. But what is an important lesson here is, it is best for people to be upset with you for telling the truth in an effort to protect your sheep, your flock. You might be unpopular with them, but you're not going to be wrong. And the problem is that when the environment has that level of fear built into it, it has this very destructive effect. So we now have a bit of the truth. We don't have the result of the investigation, but we have some details that we didn't have last week. It was not given to us because the administrator, meaning the principal, has had a press conference to tell the public. Unfortunately, it came to us through a less than pleasant mean where this was a recording. Again, this was on Channel 5, Thursday night's news, I believe, February 6th. I didn't hear it, I read the transcript. So, fair enough if the principal is not comfortable in coming to the public, but unfortunately we have heard her voice. We have essentially heard her describe a situation and a state of affairs where they are suffering from a shortage of what is required to ensure that that facility has reached a minimum threshold where the people who are there on a day-to-day basis are not outnumbered, over-challenged, overwhelmed, which then creates an unsafe environment for the children who are going there. And unfortunately, we had to learn that in the most tragical way. And so, I imagine now, because of all that has happened, at least I would want to be able to assume that a little bit more is going to be given to Stella Maris. Because of course, this don't look good, this is terrible. It might be a little easier for the administration of the institution to be heard and get a little bit more. But enough would be like this. Enough would be like this. And that's the problem when we accept that we exist in our environment affair and we just try be nice so that nobody get upset. We got some rock, we got a fence, we're not good enough for this, we have insufficient manpower, we need more resources, but we have to be strategic in how we try to get it because we don't want to upset. I once read, I think it might have been forget the name of the book. It's a book that kind of like unpack data to say that we have to understand, like, and then essentially make one point about how culture issues create communication problems and it leads to tragedy. And they may describe one scenario where they may show when cultures collide. So there was a plane trying to land in New York City, apparently a plane coming out of Korea, and the pilots were Korean, and the plane had run out of fuel, and they are talking to air traffic controllers, New Yorkers. And anybody who knows New Yorkers, I mean, they're abrasive, if you know, to might even call them rude. And that's just natural thing for them. I don't know big problem with that. That's just how they are. And so they basically give you the voice recorder transcript of the conversation and where the Korean pilot is trying not to be rude. He's out of gas, he's out of fuel, there are lives on the plane, and he's trying to communicate the urgency, but trying to do so in a way as not to offend the air traffic controller. And the air traffic controller is abrasive, naturally, cool with that, and is like, if you are not expressing a level of urgency to them, like say, hey, and maybe even dashing on too bad road, they don't feel like you got a big problem. So that plane crashed because of just the temperature, cultural nuance and all of that, but also because there was an inadequate communication of the level of urgency where we got. Never want to rock the boat, never want to seem impolite, never want to seem ill-mannered at one moment of high urgency. When we have one situation where, and this is not just for this institution, this is overall, this is a message to people in a position where got a responsibility for other people's well-being. You can't be timid, you can't be in a situation where you concerned about how maybe one government official will feel if you have to come forward to the media, you have to come forward to the public, or you have to say, yo, we need something and we need something. No, how can you have a scenario where our institutionalists of all institutions, you hear the cry of the administrator saying, we are overwhelmed. We not got the capacity to deal with what we've been tasked with, for ensure that the 120 whatever number of students we have here are safe, or can be, all their needs can be addressed. Fear is destructive. We'll take a break and come back.
In Belize, we value our families. We value our communities.
All right, welcome back to the WB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. Mose, Hyde in the house on this Monday morning, the 10th of February 2025. And a matter that I feel we have to touch on as well. I've had several conversations over the weekend with family, just looking at this issue where Belize took a very strong and spoke in a very what's the term I would use? And I'm here just quickly just to say I'm talking about Ambassador Schumann's presentation, I believe, at The Hague, in which we signed on to with about 8 other countries this matter of Gaza and Israel. And Ambassador Schumann spoke very, very directly, in a very blunt, in a very serious way on this matter, on our behalf. And there's been a question, and I know it was even on Facebook. I saw a debate going on Facebook of whether or not that is not dangerous for us. And I think what we had said last week, at least when I believe Ms. Corey had said, we had touched on that insofar as, well, how do you not align yourselves with the Belizean people, heads them up, have them understand what we're doing, to what extent are these remarks processed, vetted, precise, or is it's just we they speak with mind in a situation like that, we they speak with heart. As individuals and as an talk show host, I defend speaking your heart, absolutely, but that is not the ring whereby you do that. In the era of diplomacy, generally, it is to be, what you say should be properly assessed, specific, strategic. So you usually would try and make sure that is you would have said that there is a proper preparing as to what you're going to say, and what we've been told the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is, that they are aligned and all of that. And there's been some pushback. I believe that even in their mandala, there is a contribution about concern about what was done here. What I will say, which has not been said, and I believe that it should be said at the level of the highest leadership of this country, to the people, is to be honest. There will be consequences for that. There is no way, based on everything that is happening in 2025, under the new reality of Washington under Mr. Trump, that not just the fact that we have aligned ourselves with these other, I believe, 7 or 8 other countries. To do that is one thing. But what is said, it's a very, very strong message from Ambassador Schumann in a very sensitive climate. But my problem is, where is the supporting, enlightening, engaging conversations with the Belizean public? You can't do out there by yourself. And I'm not only speaking about Ambassador Schumann. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs can't do out there by itself. They do just what they feel. Because whatever position we take and whatever the consequences are, these are not consequences that will be borne by just people who are in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or just a particular ambassador. The consequences are to all. So even if you have even if you have one personal ideology report, you believe this is the way to do it, and respect to courage, and respect for being straight, and respect to being, you know, for talk, righteous and conscious and fiery and all of that. Respect to that. But in your capacity as ambassador representing Belize, there are obligations that come with that. And my concern is that those obligations have not been met. Where there is no one. It's like you are assuming that we in our country are enlightened and we know exactly what is the issue of Palestine and Israel, and we are aligned, and we whatever happens, we ready because we know that this is righteous, and we all know that this is conscious, and we are prepared for what comes. Come on now. We had more significant pushback to just the removal of the Queen, Queen Elizabeth off our money. No fault of ours. We have been so indifferent to being decolonized and so miseducated that that's the reality that we have. There will be consequences for that. I, for one, could tell you that I am all about being anti-Zionist. I am all for being anti-genocide. 100 with that. Wherever in the world that day, we have to stand against that. We have to talk against that. But what is also puzzling to me, with all due respect to Ambassador Schumann, there is all that fire, and I can't believe that the same person come on local television and try downplay what happening at the Sarstoon with the ramming of the territorial volunteers vessel, to the point of I had to question whether or not I understand what the word ram mean after you explained that that was nothing much. Consistent. How you go, how you would have Mr. Fire, Mr. Radical, Mr. Washington, Mr. US, calling out all the people were complicit in a genocide. But then, would I want to look like when you talk about the Belize Guatemala situation? That one different temperature, that one different energy. We par ram and no ram again. Both going into the territorial volunteers and a boat going into with all due respect to the ambassador. With all due respect to the ambassador as being a celebrated intellectual and activist, and try take away none of your stripe. Just look upon the bold words. The revolutionary may talk. But you never made talk in our personal capacity. That's the thing where tricky. That's the thing where tricky. And again, it's not that we don't say we part this the issue where as one nation state we duty bound for have certain positions on. But where is the explaining, where is the communication with the public about this and where are they going? And nobody they do that. We just see something pop up on the news that Belize take one position. Nobody no say, yeah, where they go on. This is where they go on out here. They people, nobody they do that. If we say, make the people buy into where we have to say and where we have to stand by. We are moved by our own understanding and for we own intellectual person, for we own ideology, and we are say where we have to say and do what we have to do. But we do it on we behalf. In our official capacity. I don't care where no expert can tell me or strike smooth off, and I'm not saying here that I is shaking in my boots. I understand that this is where we deal with you. This is the world where we know we live in. I understand to some extent the way how them people know the thing where they run Washington, the new emperor. And there will be consequences. And that should be said to the Belizean people. We are take pressure, but that pressure we have to take. Because we have to be this way. We have to take a stand. There's no responsibility and no talk show host for say that. I don't saw an idiot talk show host with my mouth every morning. The responsibility of people who are tasked with lead we in this world of peril and monsters and boogeymen and where they come for years. We didn't some deep water, they talk loud and strong, they bark loud. We could do that. You can't do out there, they bark loud. If you know they talk to your crowd. If you know they educate your crowd. If you know they make your crowd buy in. That's very important to me. So I have people who have very strong feelings like this is what has to be done. And I have other people where, reason with and say that what we're doing at this. And that's fair. Not about who I agree with or no agree with, but I think all of us could agree, whatever that we position out there, there's a responsibility for make sure that you pay respect to the bosses of the country and make them know what you do and why you do it and make them try and understand and deal with it. And then have a consciousness of what some of the consequences can be. I will just end with what I've said 2 times already. I don't know what the consequences will be. I don't know when such consequences will be felt. I am just absolutely confident in knowing consequences will come. And I feel I'm not comfortable with nobody with bark loud because I do a lot of barking. 25 years of barking loud for all kind of things. I just say, I'll be really consistent to the barking though. Some additional point. Because I can't believe that the big barking vice they when they come here, they want to tell we for simmer down and not be concerned because we can't go to Saskatoon and simmer down because the military from next country were far stronger than we militarily. They tell we can't go in at this river and if you don't come here we and go with gun and we and ram on a boat. But don't worry about it. And don't worry about the fact that we cut down a whole bunch of the forest in a Chiquibola, in a Colombia. Don't worry about that, no beat up, we want to settle it here. We calm and simmer about that. We not got no fire when it comes to that. Everything is nice and decent and covered with that. That not match up to me. When I take a final break, come back. All right, welcome back. Just in time for us to say have a great Monday, part ways, but our plan is to come back if we have health and strength. Tomorrow morning, 6:30, Tuesday morning edition of Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. We always give respect to the team, Larry G at Crumb Radio, the Glow, Mr. Cliff Lewis at XTV, and directing Alexi Belay. Have a great Monday. Stand strong, stand firm. For now, we're gone!